just share with you 5 very simple key learnings that I've gathered from years of our experience in Reos. And I've tested those on my way here with a friend of mine who's a farmer, and he understood them. So I think they will work. Really, I did that. I called Patty and I said, let me just rehearse a little bit my key points. So we work primarily, as I said, and Matt also mentioned about how do you bring people together to take action and move forward on tackling some of the complex challenges of the world. And the 5 key learnings that I want to share with you today are as follows. The first one is co-create. You've got to co-create the problematic situation, to understand it together, and then discover solutions together. And I'll go into all of them in some detail, but just to read them out. The second one is you need to go slow to go fast with this kind of thing, of alignment of people. Respect diversity and also notice who's missing is the third. Fourth one is lowering the bar to commitment. And then the fifth one is recognize power. So I'll just say a few things about each. So the co-creation, I mean, everyone talks about co-creation. I think at the heart of it personally, and I'm kind of half joking, is that we are narcissistic human beings and we do like what we create. We are attached to our creations, our products, we have skin in the game once we have created what we created. So there's a little bit of element of personal attachment into what you're being involved in and building with others. But there's also a bigger point that happens when you're creating with others. You build trust. You don't, everyone talks about, we need to have trust and then we move forward. You don't build trust by just demanding trust or assuming trust. You build trust on doing really small things together over time. In that way, you demonstrate you're reliable, you can be counted for, you show up, and you're competent. And those are things that you need to know from other people to demonstrate to you that they're trustful and to demonstrate your own trust to them. So that's a big part of co-creation. And then the third thing is that through co-creation, you understand where everyone is coming from, and you eventually create better alignment around values and purpose. And those are the things that will hold you when the going gets tough. The values and the purpose is what's going to be at the center of your commitments together. There's one catch though. Again, everyone's talking about co-creation and it's very, very tough. So if you want to talk about co-creation but not do it, don't talk about it, because most people will sense they're being manipulated and you have a problem there. It will backfire. So you need to go into this process earnestly. The second thing is a little counterintuitively. Like we also at Reos talk a lot about radical collaboration. We need to go fast and together very quickly and fairly and all that. And there's an urgency, right? But you gotta go slow to go fast with these things. It takes 9 months to ideally to have a baby, right? You can't rush these things. You have to give time to things to happen. And so there's an organic process, and if you rush it, you might end up with superficial commitments. And you also might not pay attention to silence, and that's really key. Silence is important. Silence speaks sometimes louder than words do. When someone is not, some parts of the coalition are silent, don't assume they're agreeing. Assume they're disagreeing, and because otherwise you might have problems later on again once you're in commitment phase. So the third thing is around understanding the roles and respecting the diversity. Appreciate that everyone is in there to also take something from what you're trying to achieve together. So respect people's interests, understand what they are, work with them. You can't just say, okay, we're gonna find a way for you to, work through this process with the others, but let's forget about this for now. You're gonna have to work with people's interests and self-interest to an extent. But also, you need to be able to pay attention to who's not there as well, not just only who's there. Because at best you'll have someone who is a valuable ally you haven't thought of in what you're trying to achieve, and at worst you'll have a powerful blocker down the line. The fourth one is lowering the bar to commitment, and I think Nigel talked about it, about how these negotiations sometimes run, like everyone has to agree at the UN level, or like with the Brexit and EU negotiations, where it's something like everything needs to be agreed before So nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, right? Like that's a common trade negotiations motto. That doesn't work here. Like you gotta be able to take the first step and make the first commitment with the people who are willing to work forward with you. So for that to happen, you gotta lower the bar a little bit. You don't have to agree on every single point up front. And again, another benefit in doing so is that by taking a first step together with others, you're building trust again. You're doing small things together without blocking yourself from perfectionism or having to have everything certain and laid out. And then the fifth thing I want to talk about is power. So recognize the power in the coalition, in the group. There's different types of power and levels of power. I mean, there's obviously positions and size and resources. But then you have other types of power. You have moral power, you have expertise, you have spiritual power, you have relational power, you have influencing power. So all of those aspects, when you're working with a coalition, you need to be able to discern how is everyone exercising the power. And there's, again, many ways that coalition or your work can be blocked. You know, simple thing is like stall, you know, you don't show up, you gossip, like these typical mechanisms of backmouth the other way, just how power creeps in, particularly for the people who cannot express it in a direct way. And so pay attention to who's marginalized, who has less power, but also ensure that the people who have the power are accountable for it and they don't shy away from owning their power, because that's also problematic. Like if you do have all the power and you think that the decisions being made completely democratic and from all the others and not you, then that again can trigger a lot of people in a conversation, in a situation, a coalition building process. So those are just some reflection I wanted to share with people. I'm going to hand over back to you, Matt.